Here at the Melanin Initiative, we simplify medical information into language you can understand. We create a safe space for you to ask your questions and share a nursing perspective. Today, we're bringing back a second-time guest, Dr. Takesha Leonard. She was kind enough to come on the first time to talk to us about the overdiagnosis of pediatric ADHD, and today we're going to hear her fascinating journey into nursing, starting with her childhood. If you're new here, welcome to the Melanin Initiative. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, and I co-host the Melanin Initiative along with Alicia and Geraldine. We're a health literacy podcast. When we say health literacy, we're talking about your ability to obtain information, to understand that information, and then to use it, to manage your health and advocate for others. We have two missions here on the show. The first one is to simplify complex health information so you feel empowered to ask questions, educated on how you can manage your health, and confident to navigate the healthcare system. The second is to elevate the expertise of nurses, spotlight the diverse career options within the healthcare industry, and our former peers on how they can leverage their expertise as clinicians and entrepreneurs. If you haven't already, this is your chance to subscribe. Leave us a comment or two. Every time you interact with us, it lets the algorithm know that this information is important so that when people like you look for topics like this, will show up higher in their search results. Remember, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you think you might be having a physical emergency, you should call 911. If you or someone you know might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988 or text 741-741. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a phenomenal guest, a trailblazer, a healer, an advocate for our community. Now, y'all listen. When I say this, our guest today is the real deal. For over 14 years, she's been holding it down on Buffalo's East Side, serving as a family nurse practitioner, bringing care, compassion, and expertise to an area where those qualities are needed the most. But she didn't stop there. No, ma'am, no, sir. Dr. Takesha Leonard saw the gaps in the mental health care space, especially for Black and Brown communities, and said, I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to be about it. She went back to school, earned her postmaster's certification as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. She went and got her doctorate in education, and now she's leading the charge in primary and psychiatric care. Dr. Leonard is also the founder of her own private practice mental health practice that just opened in October 2024. She's creating a safe space for patients to tackle anxiety, depression, and trauma. She's not just talking treatment, she's building trust and transforming lives. And when Buffalo faced an unimaginable tragedy, she stood firm, helping a grieving community heal in the wake of a mass shooting. But that's not all. She's a medical director, a mentor to high school students of color aspiring to enter the medical field, and she's got the academic credentials to match, a doctor of education, health policy, and administration. Did I hear you say advocacy, education, community leadership? She does it all. She's married and she has 5 boys. So buckle up because we're about to have a conversation with a powerhouse in the field of healthcare, a champion for our community, and someone who's as brilliant as she is compassionate. Please join me in giving another warm Melanin Initiative welcome to the incredible, incomparable Dr. Takesha Leonard. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So we're going to do our 5 questions in 5 minutes again. So the first one is going to be, if you were going to write a book, what would the title be?
Just in case you were wondering how I got here.
Oh, okay. And the sequel?
My struggle is the best part of my story.
Oh, all right. And your secret for, or not even have to be secret, what is your pro tip for people just like you, married with children, running their own practice? How do they get time for themselves?
If you do what you love, it's not work. So yeah, everything that I do is time for myself.
Oh, okay. The biggest challenge that you've overcome in the last 12 months?
Getting a promotion at my job.
Would you like to elaborate?
Sure. I am now the Chief of Clinical Operations at Jericho Road Community Health Center.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about Jericho Road.
So Jericho Road was founded by Dr. Myron Glick and Joyce Glick, his wife, both on the east and west side of Buffalo, well over 25, maybe 30 years ago. I've been there for the past 15 years. Um, Started out right out of fresh out of school as a family nurse practitioner. It was my first job. Have kind of risen in the ranks to become medical director of a site. And just recently, as of last week, I was promoted to Chief of Clinical Operations, where I oversee primarily the nursing department, and some programs will be under me as well. And so I am ecstatic. Yeah.
Wonderful. And a book or a person that changed your life?
Margaret Bolden was my grandmother, and she raised me, and we'll probably get into some of that. But yep, so person absolutely changed my life for the better.
Well, perfect. This is your nursing journey. And so the reason we do these particular episodes is so often young people are told to enter certain industries, healthcare, law, engineering, teachers, really stable jobs that come with a lot of respect, right? But they may or may not have a point of reference for that industry, that profession, and more importantly, what that career path means in their day-to-day living. And so through telling your story, we're just giving that point of reference. So instead of going to college, they're going to hear you mention actual names. Instead of hearing you should have a mentor, they're going to hear how you got a mentor, how it impacted your life. And just you showing up in your face, representing everything that you're going to share today, you're going to give hope and inspiration to someone. That someone could be in high school, but they could also be in their third, fourth, or fifth decade of life, because we know that people enter this industry at all phases of their life, sometimes for the first time, sometimes as a second or third career. And we need those people. Sometimes, we have an issue of ageism in our country. People still have lots to contribute down the line. And if you are coming from another industry, we need that perspective. Each of these episodes, we talk about things that need to be fixed. And sometimes when you come with a different perspective and a fresh lens, you offer those things that we desperately need. And so we thank you for being willing to share your story. And we know for a fact there's something that you're going to say or do today that changes someone's life. So let's start with your childhood.
So I am originally from the Bronx, born and bred, love New York City. I'm a Buffalo girl now, but Bronx, New York is my home. I am one of six. I have four sisters, and I have three sisters and two brothers. And my mom and dad were both from the Bronx. And so I grew up, my grandmother raised me. I think I mentioned that from before. I am a child of parents that unfortunately suffered from substance use disorders, drug addiction. And so a pretty good chunk of my life was in the foster care system, which they call the Bureau of Child Welfare in the Bronx, so BCW. So growing up it was tough. It was very tough. My older sister, I'm the second oldest. So my older sister is only 11 months older than me. So we're pretty much like twins, like the same age. They're absolutely my best friends now, my sisters. But there was a lot of responsibility placed on, us being so young, trying to just figure out what the heck this life was going to be like for us. God bless my mom. She is definitely clean and sober now. We have an amazing relationship, as I do with my dad. But back at that time, she knew that there was no way she can manage us. And so decided to take us and actually gave us to BCW, the foster care people, and just said, take these girls and do what I can't do right now. And I think that was probably the best gift she could have given us. So throughout the childhood, you're just trying to figure out, okay, now we're in this strange home with this strange family and, strangers. And what I always had was education. I was always told, even from, just starting school, that education is your way out. And so I really poured and invested into my education. So it didn't matter what was going on around me. I focused on my education. Eventually, my grandmother got us out of foster care, and she took us all in. And now at this time, we had a little brother. And so there was the three girls and the brother. So she took us all in. And so that's why I would say she's absolutely my hero. But not only did she take us in, she showed us love and compassion. And God rest her soul. My grandmother passed away probably about 20 years ago. But she was the epitome of what it meant to be in an impoverished, poor household and be so full of love that you didn't feel that. And so again, just encouraging you. My nickname is Tiki, and that's the nickname my grandmother gave me. But Tiki, you're gonna be something. You're gonna be amazing. This is, this is not your end. I want you to keep pushing and striving. And so, I decided that like I want a better life for myself, and so I'm gonna go do it. So at 17. Decided to go to Buffalo because it was 8 hours away from the Bronx, which was to me like another country. I was like, I got to get out of here. And I redeveloped myself. I said, it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm going to get through this. And it was hard. Nursing school was hard. I had a lot of support. I went to the State University of New York at Buffalo. I got to give them a shout out because having a 17-year-old girl come in, Black, I don't know what's going on. I never lived on a dorm, and they had the nerve to put us in a quad. So this is 4 beds on each side, myself, 2 Caucasian girls, and a Korean girl. Girl, we stood in the middle of that floor and looked at each other like they got to be kidding. But these are some of my best friends now to this day, they're the godmothers of my children. And that's how well they so they knew that this was a chance for you to learn and explore and learn more about who you are. And so, yeah, so that takes me up until, my start of my nursing career in childhood. Yeah.
And did you always know you wanted to be a nurse?
So no, when you get the list of, all the, things that you could choose, nursing was there. And I was just like, well, I mean, how bad could that be? Girl, it was bad. It was hard. But so I checked the box. And you know what, Dr. Madison, I will have to say, it's got to be that. And this is why I'm such a believer. Like my faith is so strong, because it had to be by the grace of God that you checked that box. And now I'm sitting before you as Dr. Takesha Leonard, when my start, from all accounts, I should have never been here. I should have never been sitting in this seat. So that's why my faith is so strong, because I know that God just said, no, this one I am going to invest and I'm going to pour into. I'm going to, bless her, and I'm going to give her a good life. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, we're grateful too that things turned out the way that they did. So how did you go about picking your nursing program?
So again, it was the University at Buffalo. You had some options, and 8 hours away, and that was it. So the criteria was as far away as I can get, but still being in New York. So I can still be able to come home. At that time, I think my grandmother had got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I wanted to be able to get on the Greyhound bus and come back and forth in order to support her. And so, I started the nursing program, and right away, the support was there. And again, shout out to the State University of New York at Buffalo, because the support was there. Took me under their wing with the guidance, the classes, the structure that they had. They had classes specifically for first-time students that were coming into college to support them. Dr. Letitia Thomas was one of my mentors. I think she's still there. But either way, I mean, they had programs that poured and invested into students like me, because what I realized is that although I was at the top of my class in high school, when you get into a college environment, you do start to see that there's a deficit. My study habits weren't the best. I wasn't at the level of some of these other students, and the insecurity just sets in pretty immediately that I am not good enough. That voice right in your head, that's that doubt. Am I going to make this? Am I going to do this? And then what I thought about is, well, I mean, I have been through so much that some of these students probably could never even imagine. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, I had to work in order to put myself through college. So I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning at the sandwich shop and make sandwiches till 8, go to school from 9 to 3, go to the one in the evening. There was another sandwich shop that I would do that over and over again. And what it taught me was not only like it empowered me, I can be self-sufficient, I can take care of myself, I can figure things out, but like resiliency, that ability to bounce back. So it's almost like, okay, well, whatever comes my way now, I can deal with. I've overcome that. Let's move on to the next thing. And so yeah, here we are.
Curious, because you had to kind of mature so quickly, are you familiar with the term hyper independence?
I am not.
Oh, the psychiatric mental health.
I am not familiar with it. So go ahead, educate me, Dr. Madison.
And it's funny, the first time I heard it, I knew immediately what the person was talking about, right?
Mhm.
Particularly if if you're thinking about, women in our country, because, we have the highest rates of education, right? We're furthering ourselves faster than any other bracket. Women are making more money than they've ever made before. They're single longer than they had been in the past. So a lot of people say, I have no choice but to be independent, right?
Mhm.
Even nurses are quite hyper independent, right? When we ask them to ask for help when they're building businesses, we have to spend so much energy convincing them of getting help because they're like, well, I can just do it myself. It's faster to just do it myself.
Mm.
When you're orienting other people, it's just faster if I do it myself. But I think it really shows up in our relationship. It shows up everywhere, but this question has to do with your relationship with your
Mhm.
husband in the past or maybe still today, a level of hyper independence where he found it difficult for you to let him in and to make your life easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting, Dr. Madison, that you say that, because I would say, I mean, so I wouldn't use that term because I never knew it existed, but that describes me, and me, like that is Takesha. And so I've been married since 2003. So 23 years. I got to get this right because he always gets it right. He never forgets. He can tell you down to the time, date, whatever. So initially, it was all about, I don't need, it's nice to have a partner, a husband, a boyfriend, but I don't need that. And what, over the course of years, what he allowed me to do was, first of all, be myself. I can't be boxed in, Dr. Madison. I'm too, I need to be doing, and I needed someone that was going to be able to support that person that needs to do more and give more. Specifically because of where I come from, I have to give back to my community. I have to grow other Takeshas because I feel like God has blessed me so well. I have to be a blessing to my community. It's just something that I have to do. And so, but in that, it's always like, well, we have 5 boys, and now I'm doing everything for my husband and the 5 boys. And it wasn't until he sat me down and was like, I am not here as your, I carry, like, you're the Tiger Woods and I'm carrying your clubs, and I'm here so we can golf together. I'm here so that when you're striving, I'm striving. When you're struggling, I'm struggling. I'm here. And when you get that, Dr. Madison, you're you're fine. You're fine. But I needed someone to tell me that because I've never seen it. I've never seen a successful African American relationship except on TV, which is, not realistic, but I never grew up in one. So how do you be a wife when you never learned how to be that? How do you tweak things? And I talked about it in our, the last episode of coming from strong women. All my mom was single, I mean, she had children, but she was still single. And so she was very strong, and when we get upset, girl, watch out. It is intense. And so, my husband was like, we're not doing that. He's like, and my husband is a man of God. And he's just like, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray for my wife that you find whatever it is that's creating this barrier between us. And marriage counseling and time together and really invested in our relationship, we have built this legacy of, a beautiful marriage and these 5 beautiful boys. 3 are in college right now. One is in pre-law, one is in pre-med. So we have changed that generational curse. We have changed the trajectory of our boys' lives through us just really investing in each other.
Hi, I'm Alicia from the Melanin Initiative podcast. Our mission is twofold. 1, to simplify complex health information so you feel empowered to ask questions, educated on how to manage your health, and confident to navigate the healthcare system. And 2, to elevate the expertise of nurses, spotlight the diverse career opportunities within the healthcare industry, and inform our peers how to leverage their expertise as clinicians and entrepreneurs. In less than 2 years, we've grown to over 50,000 views and 1,000 downloads, with an international audience spanning the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and more. Our engaged listeners are professionals, entrepreneurs aged 25 to 44 who value authentic, impactful content. Want to connect with this dynamic audience? Advertise with us. Send in your 1-minute video ad and let's amplify your brand. Email tmi.melanin@gmail.com for rates and details. Let's work together.
Thank you for sharing that. As we go throughout your journey, I would like to hear where your husband comes in, where marriage and the children come in too. So when you're in nursing school, have you met him?
I have not until my last year of college. He shoveled me out of the snow. I've never seen so much snow. Buffalo is crazy. It is insane how much snow comes down. And I never seen that. In the Bronx, you get a trickle, but you don't get what that is. And we had met at a party. I gave him my email address. He'll tell the story differently. I'm telling the right story. And he emailed me. That was back when Black Planet was, I don't know if you remember Black Planet. We have a Black Planet email address. And he emailed me and said, do you need anything? And I was like, well, I need to get home for Thanksgiving and my car is stuck. And he walked 2 hours and shoveled my car out so that I can get home for Thanksgiving. And when I got back, I told him, I'm going to make dinner for you. And I did. I made dinner for him, and the rest is history, I guess. Yeah, that was it. It was enough for me. I was like, if that man is willing to walk in the snow 2 hours to shovel me out, I'm going to marry that man. And so I did. I proposed to him. So I ain't got time to waste.
Yeah. Hyper independent. Yeah. That's you. So everyone wants to know, what did you make for dinner?
Fish. It was fish and rice with broccoli and Dr. Pepper. He will tell you right away that that's what it was. And I wasn't even good at cooking. He said he ate it. I was like, I don't know. He said it was
wow. And how long did you wait to do the proposal?
So we were together for, I think it was like a year and a half before I proposed, because what I did know, is I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. I just knew that it was something that was ingrained. I want to be a mom, but I didn't know if I wanted to be a wife. And it wasn't until I met my husband that I said, you know what? I want to be this man's wife. Remember, I had only seen single moms bring up their children. Dads were not really in the picture. So it wasn't foreign to me to be a single mom. And I was perfectly comfortable, at least in my head, thinking about that. But my God, the way God works, and he brought this man into my life and was like, no, we're going to have a family and we're going to work on it, because Dr. Madison, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. It's a lot of compromise, and it's a lot of, talking, and, and even if you don't feel like talking, you feel like talking, okay, let's talk, let's do. But we have found a way to just make it work, and it's beautiful, so.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Where did you start your nursing career?
So I started at, I started in the hospital system. So once I graduated with my RN, I started at Miller Fillmore Suburban. It's now closed. And then I moved over to Children's Hospital. And in Children's Hospital, I was in a critical care float pool. So that was the PICU, the pediatric ICU, the NICU, neonatal, and the ER. And I loved it. I just loved, saving children. And these are the sickest of the sickest. So, premature, like extremely premature kids, or kids that were in, fires or dog bites or, intubated and all that stuff. But when I started having my own children, it became really, really difficult for me to keep seeing sick kids and seeing kids, expire and trauma and, things that adults do to kids. It was starting to just not be healthy for me mentally. And so, and then what I didn't like and I didn't enjoy is I didn't enjoy the organizational leadership. I didn't enjoy the way people led large organizations. I didn't like the way people treated each other. I didn't like the way nurses treated other nurses, physicians treated nurses, and it wasn't my jam. I'm a very relational person, and I love building relationships, because that helps us work better together. So if I can't do that, it's harder for me to work with you, because I can't show you grace when you mess up, and you can't show me grace when I mess up, and we're human, we're gonna mess up. And so I said, well, either I can go be a nurse somewhere else, or I can go back to school, become a family nurse practitioner, and try to figure out how to be more independent and do things on my own. I entered DeUville University. So that's another university in Buffalo. Absolutely love them as well. So I got to give DeUville University a shout out. I got my FNP and my doctorate from DeUville, and went through their program, amazing family nurse practitioner program. Robust, learned a lot. The clinical experience was great. And in my last year clinicals, they put me at Jericho Road. And so I did my clinicals there, and I did 200 hours with Dr. Glick. And on my last day, he asked me if I would stay on as a provider, where I am now 15 years later. So
that is amazing. Did you always know you wanted to do pediatrics? And did that relate to you wanting to be a mom so bad?
So I didn't know I wanted to do pediatrics, Dr. Madison. The honest truth was, once the hospital closed down, you had limited options. And I was like, well, I always love kids, I think. So why don't I try this? And I loved it. I loved working with children. I love, like, they're so inquisitive, and they're so, it's the parents that sometimes give you a little bit of a struggle, but the kids that was the easy part. And so, and so I went into pediatrics, and then once I became a family nurse practitioner, I didn't want to box myself in by becoming a pediatric nurse practitioner. I wanted to have more, just more options. But when I was sitting in the seat for my nurse practitioner, they called me up, said my name. I was, super excited. But then the next row was the doctors, Dr. such and such, Dr. such and such. And I'm sitting in that audience, and I'm like, yes, like, I want to be Dr. Leonard. Like, I want that. And so Jericho Road hired me. And when I say that there are places and things in your life that will transform you as a person, spiritually, mentally, but just that holistic approach to care, praying with patients. It is a Christian-based organization, although it's a FQHC. Watching our providers pray with patients from all over different countries, nationalities, in communities of color, but they're all serving. And that's what they call it. We call it serving. I said, this is a place where I can be okay. And at that time, I really needed that, just to stabilize me, my spiritual growth, my mental health. And so I started there, but I wanted that doctorate. And so, but I didn't want to do, and this is important, I did not want to go back for my DNP, because what I was thinking is that I was already moving into a medical director position, and I really wanted to learn how to create policy and do administration, which is why I went back for my EDD instead of my DNP. Might have done that a little, that's the only thing I might have done a little bit differently had I thought about it a little bit later. But at the time, I was just seeing myself just being in Jericho Road. I wasn't seeing myself really outside of that. So that's why I chose the EDD instead of the DNP. I might have done that differently. That's the only thing I would have changed. But as I'm walking up on the stage and they're putting my hood on, and I look up and I see these 5 little brown faces that are just calling their mama, mama, mama. You can just hear them. Look at my mama. Girl, I was like, this is all that I need. And they said, Dr. Takesha Leonard. And I was like, yep, did it. Check, done, like, I'm done. And then I moved right into a medical director role at Jericho Road.
How long did you practice as a nurse at the bedside before you went back to graduate school?
So I think it was about 7 or 8 years.
Oh, okay.
It's about 7 or 8 years in different arenas. So I did pediatrics, I did home care, pediatrics home care. I worked in the ER for a little bit, just in adult medicine. So I did a lot of things just to kind of get my feet wet. I started the first family-centered home program in the hospital because of those things that I talked about. Did not like the way we were interacting with our patients, with each other. And so I always realized that I'm a person that, like, I like to see a puzzle in pieces, and I just want to go in there. That's probably that hyper independence that we talked about, but I'm trying to fix it. I'm gonna figure it out. So I started the first family-centered home program at the hospital, one of our largest hospitals in Buffalo, and they still have that now, just to bring the providers and the parents together so that we are truly providing patient-centered care. And then I went back for my doctorate, and that was amazing. And then I was medical director for a while. And then, the shooting happened at Tops. That was a huge, very traumatic event for myself, my community, for all of Buffalo. And that really derailed me for a while, Dr. Madison. That really kind of set me back, because, the racism is out there, it, you hear it. But when it's down the street from where you work, where you eat, where your kids play, like it takes on a whole different tone. It's like, you can't just say, it's not us, it's not happening here, it's not, no, it's in our backyard now. There's no ignoring it. And our community was really struggling. So I could either, continue to provide care at Jericho Road, which I'm still doing, but I was realizing I was missing the techniques and the medication management in order to get through the trauma and the anxiety that was already there, but now it has exacerbated, because now I'm scared to go into and I felt it going into a supermarket. Like, just that angst that. And so imagine if you already struggle with trauma or anxiety or depression, but you got to eat, you got to go get your medication, but your mind, it's so fascinating how the mind works. It will take you right back there, right back to that very moment. And so I decided to go back to school for my psych and P, so that way I can provide just a more holistic level of care for our patients, specifically at Jericho Road.
I'm curious because in a lot of your conversation, you talk about your faith, and you started your topic talking about the addiction that your parents had and that you witnessed. Where did your faith begin in all that?
So part of what I had to realize is that in order for me to move forward in my life, even in my marriage as a mom, is I had to learn how to forgive my parents. But in order to forgive them, I had to understand addiction, right? I had to understand that initially, yes, it is a choice to pick up that joint or to smoke that, crack or cocaine or whatever. But at some point, your brain is hijacked and it's no longer a choice for you. You don't just give up your kids voluntarily. You give them up because your brain is now so focused on whatever that dopaminergic, system is, that we are no longer a priority. Once I understood addiction, which started probably, and this is the reality of it, it probably started in maybe the last year of college, as an undergrad. I had stopped speaking to my parents completely. When I decided that I was going to start fresh, I just thought that getting them out of my life in order to start my life is going to be helpful for me. I need to just start all over again and act like that chapter never even happened. But you can't escape that. You can't escape trauma. You have to deal with it. And so, but in order for me to deal with it and to love them the way a daughter should love her mom and her dad, I had to understand addiction. So I did my research. I went back and I studied and I learned. I did a 2-year fellowship in addictions with the University at Buffalo, so that I can educate, our, parents and kids that are going through the same thing I'm going through. That it's not that mommy and daddy don't love you right now. It's not their choice. Like they've been hijacked. They don't have a choice. And when I understood that, it allowed me to show grace. So it allowed me to go back and open up those doors, because it was affecting my mental health. And not to mention, I have these 5 boys who don't know their grandmother and their grandfather. It's not fair to them to take them out of their lives. But what I will say is now we have the absolute best relationship. So they weren't perfect parents, but that's who God gave me. For whatever reason, I was given those parents. But they are the most amazing grandparents to my boys. And my boys love their grandparents, and my husband loves his in-laws. And so, yeah, I have a mom and dad. They're not perfect. They didn't do all the perfect things, but they were mine. And so, yeah, so I had to love them that way.
That's so beautiful. At what point in your journey did you do the fellowship?
So I think it was so I was already a family nurse practitioner at Jericho Road. I probably had been there for 7 years. So it was before I went back for my psych and P. I wanted to learn how to, it was when buprenorphine and Suboxone first came out. And I wanted to learn how to incorporate that into family practice so that I can treat substance use disorders on the east side of Buffalo, because there was no access. Again, that hyper independence. I'm seeing a problem. I'm just going to go back to school and fix it. So I went back and did a 2-year fellowship with Dr. Tilder Beth Deutscher, who is absolutely an amazing physician, who works in Buffalo, but she kind of took me by the hand and mentored me. She's a good friend to this day. And we did that 2-year fellowship together, just coming up with like policies and screening tools and talking about what this looks like to actually have what they call a spokes and a hubs model. So when they go to outside agencies, and when they're stabilized, then they come see me to prescribe, because then it opens up the doors for those that are really, really struggling to get help from agencies that's specifically trained in that. And so we still have that hub spokes model where we just kind of go back and forth. So I treat substance use disorder at Jericho Road. And if I feel like they're really struggling, they need more support, I can always send them back to the primary facility.
It's so interesting because on the outside, if someone's just looking at the title, right, they're like, oh, she's a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Oh, she started off with addiction being a problem in her childhood. That's why she's doing that. But the way you told your story, it was actually like the shooting that inspired you to go back and do that.
So it was absolutely the shooting. And then just remember, right before that, there was COVID. I mean, so there was just so much going on in our communities, and Black and brown people were disproportionately, as usual, affected by all of these things. But it was the shooting that actually woke me up and said, I mean, we are struggling as a community. And the thing about it, Dr. Madison, is people were asking me for it. People were like, well, how are you going to help me? Like, I understand my blood pressure, my diabetes, my whatever, but I am anxious. I am depressed. I'm suicidal. Like, what are you like? How can you help me? And yes, I had tools, but not to the level of what I thought I needed in order to be a successful provider and give our community what they needed. And so I went back to the University of Buffalo. Shout out to them again for my postmaster's certification as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Amazing program. Amazing program. I absolutely loved it. Loved being a part of it. Loved the learning. Again, that there was a huge focus again on addiction. So I got to even study that even more. And then I got to sit down and talk to my parents about it. Like, what does it truly mean that, you guys were addicted to these drugs, and help even my dad to understand, like, Dad, this was, it was never about you. At some point you were removed from the equation, and it was just your brain getting what it needed. And so, helping him to understand that, even, in his 60s, to understand that this was a disease. This was a disease that you were battling. And so that's what actually prompted me to go back.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. It's interesting, right? When we look back over our life, the decisions we made when we made those decisions, and how at that point that we're being looking retrospective. Oh, it all makes so much sense now.
That's right.
And when someone hears our story, they might, in the comparison game, think like they don't match up, they don't fit, they're not going to be as good as you, right? But you didn't know you were going to be you. You have the same questions and concerns and doubts and fears that they have as they're listening to you talk today. But when we look back, we can make it make sense. But when we're doing it,
absolutely. Right. But that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So you follow your passion, Dr. Madison, and you follow what you feel like you're called to do. And there's gonna be barriers all along the way. There's gonna be barriers. People that say you can't do this. Well, I mean, you're pregnant. How are you going to go back to school? Or, I mean, all these naysayers, these doubters, these, and that's okay. That's okay. Because God never said it was going to be easy. He said you could get it done. He never said it was going to be easy to get it done. But when you do it, Dr. Madison, and that little guy comes in and you gave him a medication that changed his life. And now he can go to school and get his work done, and mom's happy. And I'm like, yes, it's all worth it. So, again, and I probably didn't speak about this, but running my private practice right now is a struggle. Financially, it's a struggle. I love every second of this struggle. I'm going to struggle through it. I'm going to figure it out. But the mission and the purpose is what's important. And I will never lose sight of that.
So you worked about 7 years at the bedside before you went back to MP school. And then you went, and was that like a regular 2-year program?
So it took me 2.5 years because I had to have time. I didn't do it like all full time. So it took me about 2.5 years, and I worked right out of, I worked through the whole time. I did a 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift. So I went to school from 9 to 2, worked 3 p.m. to 3 a.m., went home, went to sleep, did it all over again. I mean, it was crazy, but it got done. And then I knew when I was done with my FNP, I wasn't staying in the hospital system. Certain things are for certain people. It just wasn't for me. What I needed was a community of folks and healthcare providers that believed the way I believe, and that really just wanted to do good work. And I found that at Jericho Road. I found my home. Yeah.
Now, through NP school, have you gotten married at this point?
So we got married 2003. So that was before I went to NP school. So we got married, and I think I might have had my first 2. Because the goal was at some point there was going to be a daughter in there. That was the goal. I don't know what God had in mind that I got 5 boys, but that wasn't the goal to get 5 boys. People are like, you wanted 5 boys? No, I wanted a girl. If I had the girl, there wouldn't have been 5 boys. So at that point, we're having children and we're building family, and so we were already married, and then went back for the doctorate. And then just worked, like just really worked and did a lot of really cool community stuff, and joined a couple of boards, and sat on a couple of things, just learning how to be more out there and speaking to people, and and then went back for my psych MP, and yeah, here we are.
How did you pay for graduate school?
So I took out loans. I took out loans for graduate school, but not for my doctorate. For my doctorate, I paid out of pocket. But let me just. And so what I thought was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be paying back these loans for the rest of my life, and that is a thought. The thing about, and this is why my faith is so strong, and I mentioned several areas why my faith is so strong, but I work for a non-for-profit, and I'm not even thinking about it, Dr. Madison. I worked there for more than 10 years. One morning, I wake up and I get an alert. All your student loans have been paid because you work for a non-for-profit for the last 10 years and you qualify under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Girl, I was shouting, thank you, Jesus, no more debt. And it just got wiped out. That was just 3 weeks ago, literally just 3 weeks ago. So, and this is, Dr. Madison, this is God. This is how he works. You do his work, he'll work for you. This is what it is. And so, yeah, I took out loans, and my goal was 2026. After my practice gets up and running, I'm going to pay those loans off and just get them done. I had gotten them down substantially, but I'm going to pay. Thank God. Just 3 weeks ago, wake up and there's a message. And so I think my eyes are, I'm rubbing the eyes like, wait, am I reading that? Wake Sean up. Sean, babe, read this. Yes, it's loans forgiven. So, yeah. So it can be done. It can be done.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So you went to NP school, the place that one of your preceptors offered you a job. So that didn't seem to be a struggle. You went there. That's primary care?
That's primary care. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you worked there, you said several more years, had a couple more kids, sounds like. And then you decided to go back and get your doctorate, which it sounds like you had been inspired during graduation.
That's what did it. It
took a while to go from ideation to execution.
I did. I wanted to learn how to be a really good family nurse practitioner. I wanted to learn, just kind of my craft, and is this really a good fit for me? And thank God it was. But I never gave up on that dream to go back. And so once I felt settled, we were done having children. We had our 5th boy, maybe we had our 4th. So we had a lot of them. Then I said, okay, it's time. And I did go back, and that took 5 years. Because again, statistics and dissertations and all that. Listen, I had to learn how to learn, at some point I was like, forget it. But I would get discouraged, and I would just get back up, and the next day try it again. And the thing about getting your doctorate, and I'm sure this, is that, you're getting your doctorate, but everyone around you is not getting your doctorate. I mean, the kids are still like, well, we need to eat, and somebody need to do this, and blah. And the husband is like, hello, I'm still here. Like,
done this a couple of times already, ma'am.
So you're just trying to figure out how to make this all work. And then it works, and then it happens. And then you're like, okay. And so now at this level in my career, I'm actually putting the doctorate to use in this new position as Chief of Clinical Operations at Jericho Road. And so, yeah.
And did you go for that ED part-time? It sounds like.
Yep, it was part-time. Mm-hmm. It took 5 years. And again, the dissertation part took the longest. The classes were amazing. They were very robust, very, interesting. But it was just learning how to, do statistics, how to write, how to compare and, present. And so I had to learn all of that. That was nothing I was taught in my master's program. So I had to learn all of that.
Yeah, I did the BSN to DNP, and I did that part-time too. So it took 1 extra year than the full-time people, but the stress is the same. I think the stress probably would have been the stress is high, but right. I think it would have been even worse I saw my colleagues who were doing it. A lot of them had to go part-time. I was able to stay full-time at work and pay for, live. And so what kind of help did you get as a mom and as a wife? Because if you're working full-time, you're in school part-time, you're working on, doctoral work. What kind of help did you have?
Absolutely. So, again, my in-laws are amazing. I have an awesome, amazing community of support. My sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, they did not hesitate to step in and, I need the boys picked up. But your children are your first priority. So even with that being said, if I am at football practice, I'm at football practice with a computer, but I'm at football practice because my baby needs to know that I'm there. And when I get a chance, I'll put it down and go ahead, whether he did something or not. I might have missed it, but he don't know I missed it. But you try to figure it out because, I never wanted them to look back on life and say, mommy was too busy for me. And so what did get sacrificed was sleep for a long time. And so I'm just, figuring out how to get my sleep regimen back on track because I was not willing to sacrifice, first of all, the marriage, making sure that my husband felt like, he still had a wife that was present. They love the way I cook. And so that takes time, and I bake a lot. And so they love that. And so I didn't want to take that out of their lives. So when I decided to go back, you have to put everything into perspective. What's important? So I didn't go full time for that reason. I went part time. And then most of my work and most of my studying and all that was done when the boys were sleeping. After school work was done, bathing was done, everything was done. And I can get some work done. Yeah, that's when I would do it. So I'm just getting back after all this time, just on a healthy sleep regimen.
What kind of courses do you take in your program, the ED?
So there was lots of just educational, organizational management, statistics. There was a lot of psychology courses, like psychology of humans and sociology, things like that. But the advanced sociology. There was an internship that I had to do, and so we did that.
What kind?
So I did it at Child and Family Services is where I did my internship, and studying human behavior. So that was part of it, part of the education. And then you have to present like a educational curriculum. So you had to do that. I'm trying to think because it was so many years ago, Dr. Madison, but that's pretty much what it is. But, I would take 2 classes per semester, maybe 2 or 3, but I worked through the summer too. So I took classes over the summer, and that was the quickest that I could get it done. But I was in no rush to get it done, but I wanted it, and I wanted it bad. And so, yeah.
Was that internship connected to your doctoral research? Did you have to do a thesis or something?
I did. So the internship was not, that was a whole separate thing. And then I still had to do a dissertation. And I did it this was back in the day before SMS text messaging was a thing. That's how long ago I got my doctorate. And so it was the first time we were using SMS text messages as a reminder for a patient no-show rate to decrease the no-show rate at my practice at Jericho Road. And it worked. So the statistics came that it worked, but no one was doing that. So now it's so common for you to have a portal and all that stuff. But back then it was text messaging, and that's when everyone, even on Medicaid, they got the Obama, they had the phone. And they would say, you had the Obama phone. And so everyone had text messaging and things like that. And so we were able to show that there was a correlation between a higher rate of a patient showing up if they got that reminder. And so that's what my dissertation was on, my research. Mm-hmm.
And so you told us what motivated you to go back and get your psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner certification. But what motivated you to open your own practice? Because I'm just going to remind the audience, you're married, and it sounds like a very successful marriage, which means you're putting in work for it to get to be that way. Mm-hmm. You have 5 Black boys. Some of them are in college. That takes work, time, and commitment to get them there, to keep them there, to continue to support them. You work at a federally qualified health center, which has its challenges. You just got promoted to, you've been medical director, you just got another promotion. Again, another full-time job. And now you've decided to become an entrepreneur and open your own practice.
So I think that
you're sleeping. I don't know. I don't know.
So it sounds like a lot if you put it like that. But what I do is I take it in chunks. So I know that I run my private practice mostly in the evenings and then Saturday mornings, so that I have Saturday afternoons with the boys, and I take all Sundays off for our gym day because we spend time in the gym. So I and now that my boys are older, fortunately, they don't need as much of mommy, except for my little guy who's 11 years old. He needs a lot of mommy. So Sundays are non-negotiable. Leave me alone. We watch the Bills game, which we're going to the Super Bowl, by the way. We're going to the Super Bowl. But anyway, aside from that, that is our family day, and I don't compromise that. And then, so I run my private practice around my schedule. But I think that it's just a matter of communication and communicating with my boys. The reason why I opened a private practice, Dr. Madison, is honestly because psychiatry requires so much time. And I needed to be able to give that. And in my current role as a family nurse practitioner, the reality is trying to meet the needs and requirements of an FQHC and keep our doors open and all that stuff. The reality was that it was not going to happen in the fashion that I wanted it to happen, and probably as quickly as I wanted it to happen. And then the whole idea of being a Black owned business was really, 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 it's something that I felt like I had to do. It was an example for my community. It was an example for my boys. And it was an example of like, what is your definition of you can have it all? To me, like, it's not perfect. Again, I'm making pennies working here, but to me, this is my idea of having it all. Just, having a place where people can come. And if you need an hour with Miss Takesha, you get an hour. If you need 15 minutes, if you need a phone call, because it's mine, so I can run it the way that I want. And there is a beauty and a benefit to that I've never experienced because I've always worked for other people. So now I get to enjoy my time at Jericho Road as a family nurse practitioner, and now as chief of clinical operations, and doing that during the day. And then some evenings and on some weekends, I'll be here depending on the need. So my schedule is open. And so if I fill up, I'm here. And if I'm not, then those are days that I have off. So it just depends on, what the community is saying that they need from me at that time.
And what are you saying you need from yourself at this time?
So once every 3 months for a week, my husband and I take a vacation. I own a home in Atlanta. I have a lot of family down in Atlanta. And so one of the things that we invested in while, we were kind of coming up and now our finances were a little bit better is we were like, we want dedicated time for each other. Our boys are getting bigger. We have to figure out what is life like after children, since we've always had them. And the boys don't want nothing to do with us anymore. They're like, we're good. They got girlfriends and friends, and even little Judah, my little 11-year-old, he's like, I'm good, I'm out. And so we decided, like, let's do this. We have family and friends there. And so every 3 months for a week, we take our time. No phones, no kids. It's just us. We shop, we eat, we sleep, we watch movies. I mean, it is just the best time. And so as long as I know and he knows that at the end of that 3 months, we have our time, and that's what I committed to and I promised him, we do well. Then we figure it out and we work together. Because the thing about it, Dr. Madison, is there's certain things about me that I can't change. That hyper independence, I don't know how to shut that off. And I honestly don't know if I would be happy if I did. I am a doer. I'm a fixer in my family and, in my job. It's just what I do. And it fuels me, and it gives me passion, and it gives me purpose. And as long as I have that, and at the end of that 3 months, my husband has his wife to himself. And I mean, if the kids even think about coming, he's like, no, it's just me and your mama. Like, he don't play about that. Then it all works out. You can figure out how to make your life work and still be a busy mom and wife. And I just feel like I figured out it's not perfect. Sometimes they'll still be like, but you missed the shot. You were, and I'm like, dude, I was breastfeeding your brother, so I couldn't kind of see you make the shot, but good job. So sometimes you still have to check them. But for the most part, they know my why. Right? They know if mommy is not there, not because she's out with friends, hanging out in the club, doing stuff. It's because mommy is probably doing something in the community. She probably had to stay late at Jericho Road. She probably had to take care of a patient or deliver some food somewhere or go to a hospital. And when they understand that why, then that's enough. My boys know my mom is doing good stuff. And so, yeah, it makes a difference.
That's a whole nother conversation on the why. So tell us the name of your practice and the services you offer.
Okay, so my practice is Dr. Takesha Leonard, nurse practitioner in psychiatry, PLLC. I am located in the Tri-Main building on the east side of Buffalo, 2495 Main Street, Suite 466. I have all types of beautiful surroundings. I have a kids room. I have toys. I have snacks, water, coffee, tea. I mean, you want it, it's in here. And this is just a place for you to feel comfortable. We work through your mental health and psychiatric needs. We figure it out. I offer services and as far as like ADHD, trauma, anxiety, depression, oppositional defiant disorder. I do full, robust, comprehensive evaluations. I partner with community partners for if you need counseling. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm open and available. And I'll give you my information so that your readers can have, links to how to get in contact with me. But yeah, I'm just here to take care of our community well. So.
And you offer in-person and telehealth?
I offer both. Yeah, I offer in-person and telehealth. Absolutely.
And you have a website, so people just go to your website and they book an appointment there?
I do. So it's a link that I'll send you because it's so long that me trying to read it would be kind of crazy. But yep, you click on the link. All my availability is there. And if there's something that doesn't work, you send me a message and we'll try to make it work.
Is the first visit a consultation?
So there's a 15-minute free phone consultation so that I can find out if I'm a good fit for you and if you're a good fit for me. And then you'll have your first initial assessment. And that's usually about an hour.
Oh, okay, wonderful. And you're a one-woman team at the moment, right?
I'm a one-woman team, that hyper independence until I figure out how to maybe get a biller or something, because soon I ain't gonna be no team if I don't figure out how to fix this.
Yeah. Well, we have a huge mental health family here at the Melanin Initiative, so they're going to be, hopefully you all reach out and connect with one another. Shout out to Dr. Ani Audubon and Kirby Williams.
Yes.
Both psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners, two of the co-founders of the new Society of Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioners of Color. So we're so happy to see the work that's being done there. In terms of your practice, where would you like to see it going in the next 12 months?
So I definitely would like to have more hours available. So with me taking on this new role, I do get to do just Jericho Road and my private practice. So I will have more time, and just making sure that I am meeting the needs of the community. I'm getting referrals from all over, but I want to make sure that the community knows that I'm here. So just getting the word out, to my Black and Brown families, especially that Medicaid population. It's hard to get in. That Dr. Takesha Leonard is here to provide your service. And so call me, email me, and we'll definitely connect.
So you do. It sounds like you take insurance. Do you offer cash options?
I do, and it's on a very, very, very slow sliding scale. Yes, but I take all insurances. I was able to credential, which, by the way, was a whole nother process that I probably should have hired someone for. But when you figure it out, then you can teach others how to do it. And so I figured it out. And so that's been really, really amazing. So I take most insurances, and they're all listed on my website.
You started the show by telling us the title of your book. Now we want to know, what will the historians say about your legacy?
I think they would say that she did the right things for the right reasons. And that's all that I would want them to say, Dr. Madison. For me, I mean, the riches will come, the accolades, the awards, all that will come in time or whatever. But when you know your purpose and you know your why and you do the right things for the right reason, everything will line up. You will always be blessed. And so, that's what I hope they would say about me.
Well, I think that's a beautiful way to close us out. Again, we can't thank you for sharing your time, your talents. I personally appreciate you sharing your personal life, the backstory, right? Because we get the clinical part, the patient part, all that, we get that. But we don't always get the other part. How do we manage the rest of our life that is just as important, if not more, than the work that we committed to in academia and clinical practice? I especially appreciate you sharing your faith, and you gave us actionable steps that we can actually use in our real lives. When people say, we actually make schedules on our calendar, that's something I can take, I can use that, as opposed to just saying, we make it work, we figured it out. How, when, what, how much did it cost, how much did it take? Like real tangible things. So we really, really appreciate that. Thank you for your passion and commitment to your community. That is palpable, and that you have figured a way to still be present in your family. And yes, God has been good to you. He has given you a family that supports you and that's going to let you be who you are. I really respect your husband. You've said a lot of really great things about him that we don't hear a lot about when it comes to Black men. Yes. And he sounds incredible.
He is. He's going to love this.
Well, we thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you. The invitation's always open for you to come back. And we thank you because we know there's something you said or did in your 2 episodes that really will change someone's life. You may never meet them, that's a fact, but your impact will be felt no matter what.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Madison. This was absolutely amazing.
And yeah, she was a newbie, guys. She had never done a podcast before, but you wouldn't know it. And so we just want to inspire those of you who are considering going into clinical practice, going into entrepreneurship, getting married, having children. They all require commitment. And she's done a beautiful job demonstrating that while she might be hyper independent, she also demonstrated a lot of support systems.
Yes.
You know, she really named those people really clearly. So think about that. When you're planning out your life, don't just plan out your work schedule. Plan out the life you want to live that you work so hard for.
Absolutely. Well said.
Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.